You may have missed it with all the NFL news going on yesterday, but DeShaun Foster, UCLA's head coach, has officially been fired after a horrific start to the 2025 college football season for the Bruins. Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Joey Peterson. So happy that you guys are with us today. On today's show, I'm going to give you 10 candidates who, in my opinion, are the most likely to replace DeShaun Foster. And look, we all should have known that it wasn't going to work back, 2 years ago when he took the podium at Big Ten Media Days and had maybe the most confusing opener to a press conference that I've ever seen in my entire life. That should have been the telltale sign. Unfortunately, it wasn't, and they go on to have a horrific start and now are looking for a new head coach. We're 3 weeks into the college football season, okay? I want to gauge the audience. Who is your favorite team? And what is their record? Let me know in the comment section down below. I know we got people from all over the country. I want to hear who your favorite team is, and I want to know what their record is. Let me know in the comment section. So UCLA, they got a curse. It's red, black, and white teams because right now they are 0-3 to start the season. Lost 43-10 to Utah, a really good Utah squad. Then lost 30-23 to Dan Mullen's UNLV. And then this last week was the straw that broke the camel's back with that 35-10 loss against New Mexico. That's ultimately what did DeShaun Foster in, and ultimately is what UCLA made them decide to go in a different direction. So for this job, in my opinion, it's different than a lot of Power 4 jobs out there, right? There's some jobs in the SEC. There's some jobs in the higher-ups in the Big Ten, if you know what I'm talking about, where you can say, okay, there's a good chance you can get pretty much anybody. But for UCLA, it feels like most likely whoever they hire is going to be a guy they're taking a shot on, taking a chance on, who's a young up-and-comer and who is a first-time head coach. In my opinion, that most likely fits the mold for what they're going to be going for in UCLA. Let's talk about Danielson. Okay, he's my first candidate. Now, I'm not ranking these 1 through 10. I'm just giving you 10 names. Currently is the USC defensive coordinator, and a year prior, or I guess 2 years, in 2023, he was with Chip Kelly and UCLA, was the defensive coordinator for that staff, and when he left to go to USC to join Lincoln Riley, that's pretty much when UCLA's downfall had started. He's got those West Coast ties. Obviously, he's still in LA right now with UCLA or with USC, and that's where he spent a good majority of his career. He's a really good recruiter, and he's done something for Lincoln Riley and that USC team is make that defense legit. Okay, we all know when Caleb Williams was there, when Lincoln Riley first got there, that defense was an absolute joke. Okay, their offense had to put up 45, 50 a game for them to even think about winning. Well, since Lynn has gotten there, he's pretty much turned things around, and things are looking really, really good. Same story, different guy in different school. Ben Arbuckle is who we're going to talk about next. He currently is the offensive coordinator for the OU Sooners. And in a similar breath to D'Anton Lynn, before Ben Arbuckle got there last season with OU, their offense was just an absolute joke, okay? OU's defense, led by Brent Venables, was really, really solid, but they couldn't score a touchdown to save their lives. Now, a lot of that was the quarterback situation with Jackson Arnold, but still, regardless, what was happening last year offensively from Oklahoma was unacceptable. And then Ben Arbuckle comes in, he brings John Mateer with him, and their offense has totally turned on its head so far in 2025. And I think that's a thing that Ben Arbuckle might bring to UCLA, a little bit more familiarity, recruiting with that side of the country, right? Because he did spend time in Washington State as well as their offensive coordinator. He's a young up-and-comer. I feel it's only going to be a couple of years before this guy gets a head coaching job. And although he's really, really young and the sample size isn't as big in the Power 4, I think he could be a really, really special hire for UCLA, especially when you take into account they want to keep Nico on campus. Regardless of your thoughts on Nico, on my thoughts on Nico, that's going to be their number one priority, is not letting him leave and transfer out. So if they hire a guy who's an offensive mind, there's a better shot that he stays. Who do you think DeShaun Foster's replacement is going to be? Let me know in the comment section down below. I've given you 2 names, got 8 left to go, but you let me know yours right now. Tosh Lupoi is my next name, the Oregon defensive coordinator. He's a guy who's born in Southern Cal. Obviously, he spent the last couple of years with Dan Lanning at Oregon as their defensive coordinator. He's one of the best recruiters in the country, okay? And because he's been with Oregon, he's used to recruiting on the West Coast, right? On that side of the country, so it'd be no different for him stepping up and taking that head coaching job at UCLA. I mean, this guy's been phenomenal. Oregon's a really, really good team, and I think they are thought to be really, really good offensively because they put up a lot of points, and they've had guys like Bo Nix get drafted, Dylan Gabriel get drafted, but I think their defense is overshadowed a lot. And he's also gotten the last couple of years to learn under a guy like Dan Lanning, who there's a reason he got that Oregon job because he's one of the best defensive coaches in football. Alex Golesh, pretty much just going defense, offense, currently the head coach at USF. And if you've paid attention to college football this year, you've probably gotten to know this name and you've probably gotten to know this school. Now, they didn't give quite the effort everybody expected them to against Miami. They got beat pretty bad right there, but still, they're able to beat Boise in week 1. They beat Florida in week 2. And Alex Golesh is a guy who's recruiting on a level at a school like USF that's surprising a ton of people. Would he take the UCLA job? I'm not sure. In my opinion, there's probably some better head coaching jobs coming Alex Golesh's way this offseason. But if there's not, I think he'd be really open to it, stepping up to the Power 4. Spencer Danielson, a guy who is already a head coach, right? He's at Boise State, took that team to the playoff last year. He's a guy just like Tosh. He's from Southern California, and I think he's a guy who might be looking to get into the Power 4 ranks as well. Now, it does help when you have a Heisman contender on your team, like they did with Ashton Jeanty last year, being able to lead them and help them go to that college football playoff. But he's a guy that has really done impressive things with Boise State. He's a culture guy. The guys love playing for him. And he seems like he's a guy that if you want to reset the culture of your team, the culture of your program, and everything going forward, he's a guy you might want to take a chance. I got a question for you. Okay, does UCLA get a win this year? They're currently 0-3. It's not looking bright anytime soon. I want you to let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure at some point today you go onto that app store, whether you got an Android, iPhone, I don't care. Just download the PrizePicks app because they're an awesome sponsor of today's show. And you know what? It's the best way to have fun while watching football. You and I, we make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks also offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks won't count it as a loss. PrizePicks also invented the flex play, which means you could still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money if one of your picks doesn't hit. I got a PrizePicks lineup for some Monday Night Football tonight. 2 games. Okay, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Houston Texans. Give me the more on Baker Mayfield passing touchdowns. Give me the less on C.J. Stroud rush yards. And then for Ladd McConkey and the Chargers as they take on the Raiders, I like the more than 72.5 receiving yards. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Let's round this thing out with 5 more head coaching candidates, and this one I think might be the most likely. Tony White, the current defensive coordinator for Florida State. We all know Florida State pulled an absolute upset against Alabama, and Tony White was responsible for holding that Kalen DeBoer offense to just 17 points in the opener. The thing about Tony White as well, he was a 3-year starter and a team captain for UCLA in the early aughts, so you know he's going to be getting looked at, and I feel like he's a guy who recognizes this job is a step up for him, a chance to become a head coach, and where would you rather be a head coach than the place you got to play your football at? Jason Eck, the New Mexico head coach, because you know the saying, if you can't beat them, hire their head coach to be your head coach the following season. And that just might be what happens for UCLA and what might happen to New Mexico. Jason Eck, after coaching Idaho and doing some pretty impressive things with them, has gotten that choice and chance with New Mexico. And say what you want about UCLA, The talent on that roster, the recruiting they've been able to do, even though it's not in the tops of the Power Four, it's still better than the talent and the recruiting that New Mexico has done in the past half decade. Okay? So, still, regardless of what you think about UCLA, impressive win for Eck. And anytime you're able to do that against a Power 4 team, you're going to get some eyeballs on you. Shannon Dawson, Miami's offensive coordinator. I think he's got to be mentioned here as well. Really impressive with what Miami's doing this year on offense, especially with Carson Beck, okay? That's a guy that Georgia was pretty much fine with letting him hit the portal, okay? And he was pretty limited with Georgia's offense last year. It seems like Shannon Dawson has been able to unlock something from Carson Beck, kind of, utilizing that talent in a different way than Mike Bobo and the Georgia Bulldogs were able to, and also, be able to take that step up from that coordinator position to a head coach, I think would be appealing for him. This one's an interesting one. Probably the least likely of all of them on this list. That's kind of why I kept it at the end of the show. How about Jon Gruden, okay? He's recently said that he would be interested in coaching college football again. Now, he did say that in regards to the SEC, but getting in the Big Ten is pretty important as well. He currently is not a head coach anywhere. He's doing a lot of stuff with Barstool. I'm sure you've seen it on social media. However, he does have those West Coast ties from his time with the Raiders. We all know that Jon Gruden is a culture guy, kind of like Tosh Lupoi, kind of like Danielson from Boise. If you're looking to reset that culture, I don't know if there's a more perfect guy to do it than Jon Gruden. We're going to round this one out with Blake Baker, the LSU defensive coordinator. What he's done at LSU is incredibly impressive. Very, very similar to what D'Anton Lynn has been able to do at USC. Take a defense that's pretty much been the sole reason your team has been losing and kind of flip it on its head. And if you looked at what they were able to do against Florida this last weekend, against DJ Lagway this last weekend, picking him off 5 times, a big part of that is because of Blake Baker's scheme and what he's able to do with those guys that he's got. He's going to be a head coaching name, I think, this upcoming search, but kind of similar to Alex Golesh. I feel like there's probably going to be some better jobs available for him in the future. I want to know, who's the best up-and-coming coach in college football? You might think it's Golesh. You might think it's Baker. Could think it's Lynn. Could be a name I did not even mention. I want you to let me know in the comment section down below. And that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. Daily coverage. All sports, all year round, right here.